These 66 questions are one of the best ways to prepare for the SAT. It's a great to do and all in one sitting to practice endurance, see if you can review everything and keep up without having to take a break, without having to do anything like that, to practice that mental focus. So try out all 66 questions, see how I do it, see if you can pick up any tricks. I hope you already did it on the real Bluebook test and you'll be feeling great. If x equals 7, what is x plus 20? You just plug in x with the 7 and you get 7 plus 20 equals 27. So many people are amazed that this exists as a question, and that is kind of amazing, but it really does, and it's about doing it very quickly. You shouldn't have to write anything down or have any doubts on this one. So it is C. Then we have this one here. The lists give the values in datasets X and Y. Which statement correctly compares the mean of dataset X and the mean of dataset Y? So many people will look at these datasets and actually find the mean. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to notice that we're just comparing the mean. X and Y are identical except X has 27 and 27 is bigger than any value in X, so it's going to have the mean go up. So the mean of dataset X is greater than the mean of dataset Y. No. The mean of dataset X is less than the mean of dataset Y. Yes, that should be it. The means of dataset X and Y are equal. No, and there is not enough information to compare the means. No, it is B as in Bobby. So again, notice that I didn't do the math. I didn't add them all up. If I did, I would still get the answer, but I'm wasting time that I could be using for harder questions in the future. And don't worry if you didn't see that trick. Now you see it and you can use it in the future. All right, so we have here for number 3 a nice triangle question. Right triangles PQR and STU are similar, where P corresponds to S. If the measure of angle Q is 18 degrees, what is the measure of angle S? So if everything is corresponding, that means 18 goes with Q here. These are 90 degrees because this is 90 degrees and it all adds up to 180, so it'd be 180 equals, and I'm sure you could do this in your head, but I'm just showing you all here. 18 plus P. So it's going to be 180 equals 108 plus P. Then I subtract 108 from both sides. Subtract 108 from both sides, and I get 72 equals P. And you're asking, Sebastian, why are you doing that for P? We're asking for S. Well, because they're corresponding, so that means they're going to be equal. So S is also going to be 72, and that is going to be B as in Bobby again. A lot of B's so far. You don't need to overcomplicate this one. You just need to remember that similar triangles have corresponding angles that are equal. And number 4 is a fun one. A rocket contained 467,000 kilograms of propellant before launch. Exactly 21 seconds after launch, 362,105 kilograms of this propellant remained. On average, approximately how much propellant in kilograms did the rocket burn each second after launch? So we're given 21 seconds. We're told that this is what remains. This is what we started with. So we find the difference and divide by 21. You could think of it as finding slope. So let's do that here. 467,000. I would normally not write the zeros, but because the other one has numbers, not just zeros, we need to write them, not just canceling out. So it's going to be this on top. And we're going to divide by 21. Now on top, it's going to become 104,000. You could do this with the calculator with Desmos. 895, and you divide that by 21. Don't use a calculator now, just look at your answer choices. 100,000 divided by 20 is around 5,000. The only one that's around that is A. Now, why am I telling you that? Because you need to find ways to save time on easy questions for the future. Sure, use the calculator to check, but hopefully your mental math is strong enough to where you don't have to do that here. And we have a classic systems of equations here. 4x equals 20. Negative 3x plus y equals negative 7. The solution to the given system of equations is xy. What is the value of x plus y? So I could show you 2 ways, but I'm just going to do it actually with Desmos. That's the cleanest when you just have 2 equations like this. So let's do it like that. All right, so we have this beautiful Desmos window open. We plug in the equations. 4x equals 20. Negative 3x plus y equals negative 7. and then you see where they intersect. You get 5 and 8. So then we're just going to do 5 plus 8 equals 13. I'll write it out just for fun. Equals 13, and that is C. Okay, so you could do it obviously with substitution or elimination, but Desmos is your friend. You want to be using that for this and not be wasting time using the other ones. Okay, on this one we have a certain apprentice has enrolled in 85 hours of training courses. The equation 10x plus 15y equals 85 represents the situation where x is the number of on-site training courses and y is the number of online training courses this apprentice has enrolled in. How many more hours does each online training course take than each on-site? So the x is the on-site, and that's 10x. The y is the online, and that's 15y. So how many more hours does it take? So this is more about understanding how to construct equations and decode equations than actually doing calculations. What's happening is we have 10x plus 15y equals 85. So think about price. I think that's a more common way to see it, right? If you saw something like hamburgers are $5, so we'd say 5H, and hot dogs are $3. So let's say 3 D as in dog, and let's say you sell a total number of something and that sells for $75, right? The 5 is the price, the 3 is the price. So here it's not price, it's time. So the 10 is the number of hours, and the 15 is the number of hours. So to find our answer, we're going to do 15 minus 10 equals 5, okay? And that is all there is to this one as well. Again, you're noticing that these are quick, they're straightforward, but that doesn't mean the SAT is easy, because they're going to get a lot harder in the future, and there's still room for simple errors to make, and you want to get rid of those errors. All right, here's one of my favorite concepts. Square x has a side length of 12 centimeters. The perimeter of square y is 2 times the perimeter of square x. What is the length in centimeters of one side of square y? So because the perimeter is 2 times, then each side length is 2 times. So we just do 12 times 2, and that's going to be exactly 24. Again, mental math, you don't need to write it. I'm writing it just to show you. Now we're on to number 8. GM equals negative 0.05 m plus 12.1. The given function g models the number of gallons of gasoline that remains from a full gas tank in a car after driving m miles. According to the model, about how many gallons of gasoline are used to drive each mile. So similar to what we were doing earlier with the hours of classes, right? This isn't about doing math. It's about understanding equations and functions. So this is the slope, and this is maybe your starting point, right? So this is maybe how many gallons you start with, and you're losing 0.05 per mile. So that would be A, okay? All there is to it. The only other option that would make sense, right, is B, but that's the starting point, not the per mile loss. If 4x minus 4 equals 112, what is the positive value of x minus 1? Okay, so the positive value, there's 2 ways to do it. I'm going to do it one way. I'm not going to actually solve for x. I'm going to solve for x minus 1 by dividing everything by 4. So I'm going to get x minus 1 equals 112 over 4, because 4x minus 4 equals x minus 1. Okay, that's the key there. That's why they're asking for x minus 1. It's a specific value. 112 divided by 4 equals 28. A lot of people will find x, forget that it's asking for x minus 1, and just leave that. So that's one way to do it where you're not fully solving. You know there's only going to be a positive value. So once we see that this is positive, this is the one that's going to work. Now we can do Desmos, and you'll see both ways work, and you can choose which one you think is easier. I think they're about the same level. So here we do absolute value symbol. 4x minus 4, close absolute value symbol, and then instead of setting it equal to 112, I'm going to subtract 112, because then it makes a nice function for me, a graph. Then here it is, it's 29, x is 29, subtract 1, you get 28. Either way works. I kind of like the first one, it's kind of more fun, but Desmos is basically just as easy. All right, number 10, the given equation relates the positive numbers b, x, and y. Which equation correctly expresses x in terms of b and y? So this is all about isolating for x, so let's rewrite it. 1 over 7b equals 11x over y. And now because 11x is already on top, I'm just going to multiply by y to get it by itself. So I'm going to get y over 7b equals 11x. You could also cross multiply, that'll be fine. Now I'm going to divide by 11 on both sides. And I'm going to get y over 77b, because the 7b and the 11 multiply equals x. And that is going to be C. Okay. If you have questions on this, let me know. You just want to be careful and you want to isolate the x. That's all it's saying. When it's saying in terms of this, that just means isolate it. All right, so here we have a table. The table shows 4 values of x and their corresponding values of f of x. There is a linear relationship between x and f of x. That's important. That tells us it's a linear equation. That is defined by the equation f of x equals mx minus 28, where m is a constant. What is the value of m? So when we go up in the x value, so here we're going up by 5. Here we're going up 137 minus 82. It's going to be 55. So then we just do rise over run. So 55 over 5, our slope is going to be 11. So that is what it's asking for here, right? They even let us use m to stand for slope. And you just want to make sure your numbers are all clean and you're not doing anything miscalculating. And we have a polynomial here, 5x cubed minus 3 minus parentheses negative 4x cubed plus 8. The given expression is equivalent to bx cubed minus 11, where b is a constant. What is the value of b? So I'll rewrite it here. You don't really have to rewrite it. You should be able to do this in your head. What's going to happen is you're going to distribute that negative, and you want to make sure you distribute it everywhere, and then you should be good. So you have 5x cubed minus 3. Now minus negative 4x cubed is going to become plus 4x cubed. A lot of people will forget that. And then minus plus 8, so it's going to become minus 8. People forget that. The negative 3 minus 8 gives us that negative 11 that they already told us about. And then 5x cubed plus 4x cubed is 9x cubed. So this is all about combining like terms and just being careful with that negative, being clean, being organized. So much of the SAT is about organization and focus, not so much about being some math whiz. All right, now we have systems of linear inequalities. Y is greater than 14 and 4x plus y is less than 18. The point x, 53, is a solution to the system of inequalities in the xy plane. Which of the following could be the value of x? I'm just going to say to use Desmos. It wouldn't be that bad to solve out on algebraically. You just plug in the 14 for the y and go from there, but Desmos really cleans it up for us. And as you're using Desmos, it's not so much that you need to use Desmos so much on the test, but you do need to practice using it while you're studying so that on the day of the test you're comfortable. So let's see what y is when it's 53. So we have to be down. So it has to be the smallest value, right? So at 53, y is going to be, 54 is negative 9. It is right here, negative 8 point something. It has to be to the left of that, so it's going to be a negative 9. Okay, that's all you have to worry about there. And again, practice Desmos, feel comfortable with it. It really is a huge key that I think some people overuse it, but definitely some people underuse it as well. You have to find the right balance. We have bacteria are growing in a liquid growth medium. There were 300,000 cells per milliliter during an initial observation. The number of cells per milliliter doubles every 3 hours. How many cells per milliliter will there be 15 hours after the initial observation? This is exponential growth. So I'm going to do 15 divided by 3. So we have 5 doublings that occur. So we do 300,000. So I'm just going to do 3 actually, because the zeros, why do we need them? We can just add them in at the end. And then we'll do doubling 2 to the 5th power. 2 to the 5th is 32 times 3. We're going to get 96. Then we add in the zeros and we get D. Okay. So often when you see bacteria and talking about growth, it's going to be exponential growth. Or exponential decay if they're like shrinking somehow. And then with that, you have the value at the beginning. That's like your initial value. And then how much you're growing by per given period of time. So here you're doubling every 3 hours. So you do a 2 here. If it said tripling, you do a 3 there. But it said quadrupling of 4. This one's got a lot going on. We got a graph. We got a lot of writing. The graph gives the estimated number of catalogs Y in thousands a company sent to its customers at the end of each year, where X represents the number of years since the end of 1992, where X is greater than or equal to 0 or less than or equal to 10. Which statement is the best interpretation of the Y-intercept in this context? We need to read all the answer choices here. The estimated total number of catalogs the company sent to its customers during the first 10 years was 9,000. I don't think so because it's about the initial value, right? Y-intercepts are about initial values. The estimated total number of catalogs the company sent to its customers from the end of 1992 to the end of 2002. No, that would be if we added up all the individual values. So it shouldn't be that. The estimated number of catalogs the company sent to its customers at the end of 1992 was 9. That wouldn't be that because we're talking about thousands. That's the right idea, but the number is wrong. So then D, the estimated number of catalogs the company sent to its customers at the end of 1992 was 9,000. That is correct. Okay. So again, another conceptual question where we're not doing calculations. Those are pretty common on SAT, and I think they throw people off because a lot of times they're not doing that much in their math class. All right, I love this one. It looks so fancy and hard, but it's really simple. Which expression is equivalent to 7th root x to the 9, y to the 9, where x and y are positive? So remember, you can rewrite roots as fractions. So this is x to the 9, y to the 9, to the 1/7 power, and then you distribute the power, so it's going to become x to the 9/7, y to the 9/7, or as it's written in B, xy to the 9/7. Okay, many people forget how to do the roots, but that's all you have to do. Remember, it is about making it into a fraction. The population of City A increased by 7% from 2015 to 2016. If the 2016 population is k times the 2015 population, what is the value of k? So if it's increasing by 7%, that's going up by, we're adding on 0.07. So it's not going to be A, that's just saying we're multiplying by 0.07 because we're saying is k times the population of 2015. So we're adding 1, right? We're adding 0.07 to 1 to get 1.07. So if in 2015 it was 1,000, the next year it'll be 1,070. So it can't be A, can't be B, those would be decreasing. D is increasing by 70%, so it is C. Okay, just a little bit of math there, understanding percents. I have a video on that, the core video on percents that you can watch in the core class playlist. Which of the following systems of linear equations has no solution? So I've been doing where I'm graphing when I have systems of equations using Desmos, but I'm not going to do that here. You shouldn't have to do that. Even though Desmos is fast, that's a waste of time. System of linear equations has no solution. That means it has the same slope, different y-intercept. This is not it. This is not it. Same slope, different y-intercept should be C, and that's not it. C, okay? Much faster than having to type out the equations. So remember that. Systems of equations, no solutions, same slope, so they're parallel, and then different y-intercepts. All right, we have one here, a sequence question. The first term of sequence is 9. Each term after the first is 4 times the preceding term. If W represents the nth term of the sequence, which equation gives W in terms of n? Okay, so the first term is 9. So if we plug in 1 into these, which of this gives us 9? It wouldn't be A, because that would give us 36. B would give us 9 to the 0 is 1 times 4 is going to be 4. Nope. C gives us 9 times 4 to the 1 is going to be 4 times 9 is going to be 36. Nope, it's going to be D. 9 parentheses, 4 to the 0 is 1. This is the only one that works just with that, and it makes sense because 4 is going to be multiplied every time that we're adding 1 to the exponent. D. The minimum value of x is 12 less than 6 times another number n. Which inequality shows the possible values of x? So it's 12 less than, so we're subtracting 12, 6 times another value n. So it has to be 6n minus 12, so it's not C or D. The minimum value, so x has to be at least that value, so x is greater than or equal to it. It is B, okay? This is just translating words into equations, and can you believe it? We're only 2 questions away, and they usually get harder as we go along, so these are about the hardest questions in Module 1. Module 2 would be another story, but we'll get there when we get there. The side lengths of right triangle RST are given. Triangle RST is similar to triangle UVW, where S corresponds to V and T corresponds to W. What is the value of tan W? So we're going to draw out RST. TR is the long side, so it's the hypotenuse. So then S is going to go here. Then we can go T here, R here. So then ST is going to be 48 and RS is going to be 20. And because they're corresponding, that means V goes with S, U goes with R, and W goes with T. So W up here, V, and they're going to be the same dimension. So tan W is going to be the same as tan T. Tan T is going to equal, we'll just call it tan W equals 20 over 48. We divide them both by 4 and we get 5 over 12. We get B, okay? So this one, people are tempted not to draw it out, but you really want to draw them out and keep track of where the letters are. An easy mistake would be to move the W down here. Those little mistakes you have to be careful about and keep track of making sure the letters line up with each other, and then you'll be fine. All right, so here it is, our last one. Let's see how hard it is. The graph of 9x minus 10y equals 19 is translated down 4 units in the xy plane. What is the x-coordinate of the x-intercept of the resulting graph? So I'm going to isolate y. Then I'm going to plug that in and subtract 4 in Desmos, and that'll give me the x-coordinate. So 9x minus 10y. There are other ways to do it, I'm sure, but I just like to get the y in so I can sort of see the translation more clearly. I'm going to subtract 9x from both sides, subtract 9x. Then I'm going to have negative 10y equals 19 minus 9x. Divide by negative 10, divide by negative 10, and I get y equals 9/10 x minus 19 over 10. And now I'm going to graph that in Desmos and have subtract 4 in it for the shift down, right? Because as shift down, shifting up and down, you subtract or add to the whole equation, not to x alone. So let's see here. We're going to do y equals 9/10 x minus 19 over 10 minus 4. X minus 19 over 10 minus 4. And now let's see what we have. Okay, there it is. We're looking for the x-coordinate value, so it's going to become 6.5556 or 59 over 9. So you could do 6.556, or I would do 59 over 9. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all there is. All right, so this time we're doing Blue Book test for Math Module 2, the hard version. Number 1, there are 55 students in Spanish class. A sample of the Spanish club students was selected at random and asked whether they intended to enroll in a new study program. Of those surveyed, 20% responded that they intend to enroll in the study program. Based on this survey, which of the following is the best estimate of the total number of Spanish club students who intend to enroll in the study program? So there are 55 students, 20% plan to enroll, so you just do 20% times 55. 20% as a decimal is 0.2 times 55 gets you 11. You shouldn't have to write that out. It should be mental math. I'm just writing it out to show you. A, okay? So even though this is a hard math module 2, still not a bad start. They usually start off pretty gently and then they get harder. There's always points out there to get, so don't freak out. Then we have this one here. A machine makes large boxes or small boxes, one at a time, for a total of 700 minutes each day. It takes the machine 10 minutes to make a large box or 5 minutes to make a small box. Which equation represents the possible number of large boxes and small boxes the machine can make each day? Okay, so the large boxes is x and they go with 10. So it takes 10 minutes per box. So to find the total time for that, it would be 10x. And then 5 would go with the small box as y, so it would be plus 5y equals 700. And that is going to be B. The biggest mistake people make here is get the x's and the y's confused and do 5x plus 10y and put A. But just keep track of what they're telling us they mean and what each time goes with, and you'll be fine. Again, easy points right off at the beginning. Don't be freaking out and messing up on these. Do what you can with the easy ones and then worry about the hard ones when you get there. All right, and this one's a great one. Very simple. The scatter plot shows the relationship between two variables, x and y. A line of best fit is also shown. Which of the following equations best represents the line of best fit shown? So first notice that it's negative slope. So let's cross off anything with a positive slope, A and C. And then notice it has a positive y-intercept. So cross off the one that has a negative y-intercept, D, and we're left with B. Notice how it's two sets of two. There's 2 with positive 13.5, 2 with negative 13.5, and then 2 with positive 0.8x and 2 with negative 0.8x. They organize it that way, and if you know that, that helps you focus in on the differences and choose the correct answer. They do this all the time on the SAT, both in the math and the verbal. Okay, now we have this one. The point with coordinates D, comma 4 lies on the line shown. What is the value of D? So what you do here is you get the 2 points they give you. You have 8, comma 0. And you have 0, comma 7. And now with that, you're going to work and find the slope and the equation. And you're going to do D. So I'm going to do y minus y1. Let's do this point here. 8, comma 0. So it's going to be 0 equals m x minus 8. And now you can find the slope by doing y1 minus y2. So that'll be 7 minus 0, you could say. So it'll be 7 over 0 minus 8 will be negative 8. So you have negative 7/8. So our values are going to be y equals negative 7/8 x plus 7 when we distribute the negative 7/8 to that. Now we can plug in D4, so we'll get 4 equals negative 7 over 8 D plus 7. Subtract 7 and you'll get negative 3 equals negative 7 over 8 D. Multiply by a negative 8 over 7 and you'll get 24 over 7 equals D. Okay, and that is C. Okay, so that one kind of tricky, but with this information you can totally find it using the basics of algebra. And now I'm going to show you how to use Desmos to solve for this actually. What you can do with Desmos is plug in the points using a table. So you have 8, comma 0, 7, and then 0. And you can make a regression. And then using this equation, you can plug in for y and solve. And this gives you the equation straight up. So you could plug in 4 and isolate x. So 4 equals negative 0.875 x plus 7. And just isolate for it, so you'll get negative 3 divided by negative 0.875. You get that. You make it into a fraction. Okay, so they're about equally difficult. I like the first way, but definitely you can use Desmos as well. Let me know what you prefer. And then we have this for the quadratic function f. The table shows 3 values of x and their corresponding values of f of x. Which equation defines f? Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing we did before. If we use the Desmos method, we're going to plug in these values. So it'll be negative 1, 0, and then 1. And then over here it's going to be 10, 14, and then 20. Delete that. It's a quadratic, we were told, so it's going to be like this. And it is 1x squared plus 5x plus 14. Okay, so in this one, and the last one, Desmos was a little helpful. In this one, Desmos is very helpful. So a big part of using Desmos is knowing when to use it and when to just do it the old-fashioned way, okay? but sometimes Desmos can really save a lot of time and prevent a lot of mistakes. And we have this, the function f is defined by f of x equals x plus 15 over 5, and f of a equals 10, where a is a constant. What is the value of a? So classic, you can just plug in 10 for f of x and then solve for x, which is a. So it'll be 10 equals a plus 15 over 5. Multiply both sides by 5. We got 50 equals a plus 15. Subtract 15 from both sides and we get a equals 35. And that is C. Okay, a beautiful question, a lovely question, one of my favorites. Again, easy points at the beginning. You rack those up. So if you miss one or two questions at the very end where they're very hard or you run out of time, it won't hurt too much. The most annoying is when you miss easy questions, honestly. In the figure, lines M and N are parallel. If x equals 6k plus 13 and y equals 8k minus 29, what is the value of z? So x equals 6k plus 13 and y equals 8k minus 29. And we know they're going to be equal to each other, and z plus y are supplementary, so they're going to equal 180. And x equals y. So we're going to say 6k plus 13 equals 8k minus 29. 6k plus 13 equals 8k minus 29. Subtract 6k, we're going to get 13 equals 2k minus 29. Add 29 to both sides, you get 42 equals 2k. K equals 21. Okay, so now we're going to plug that in for y, so we're going to get 8 21. We could do x as well, honestly, because it's the same thing, but I'm just going to do it this way. Minus 29 plus z equals 180. 8 times 21 is going to be 168 minus 29. That's going to be 139 plus z equals 180. We subtract 139, we get z equals 41, and that is C as in cat. Okay, if you have questions on this, let me know. Not the easiest geometry question, but definitely not the hardest. We'll get to some of those at the end of this section. But you just want to keep track of the rules about parallel lines, transversals, and then basic algebra. So much of this test is about focus, not so much about knowing crazy things. So now on this one, line P is defined by 2y plus 18x equals 9. Line R is perpendicular to line P in the xy plane. What is the slope of line R? So perpendicular means negative reciprocal. So here the slope is 2y plus 18x equals 9. We're going to isolate the y, so subtract 18. So we get 2y equals negative 18x plus 9. Divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. Y equals negative 9x plus 9 halves. That doesn't matter because all we care about is the slope. And then the negative reciprocal of negative 9 is going to become 1/9. And that is C. And we have another geometry question here, a little harder than the parallel lines one, but not too bad. A sample of oak has a density of 870 kilograms per cubic meter. The sample is in the shape of a cube, where each edge is 0.9 meters. To the nearest whole number, what is the mass in kilograms of this sample? So important thing to know is that mass equals density times volume. 807 is the density, 0.9 is the side length, so the volume is going to be 0.9 cubed because that's a cube. So M equals 807 times 0.9 cubed. Plug that into Desmos or into any calculator. I would use Desmos, and you're going to get 588, I think 0.3, but we're rounding, so it is A. Okay? So classic geometry question. Mass, density, and volume go together nicely. They're often used in chemistry as well. If you have questions on this, let me know. All right, we're moving quickly. This is the first one I think that is kind of pretty hard. So we're only on 10, but it's getting hard now with this. There'll be some ones to break it up though, so don't worry. The function P models the population in thousands of a certain city T years after 2005. According to the model, the population is predicted to increase by n% every 18 months. What is the value of n? Okay, so we have 18 months, T is in years. So let's convert 18 months into years by dividing by 12. 18 divided by 12 equals 1.5. Plug that in for T and we're going to get 290, 1.04, 4/6, 1.5 T. 1.5 times 4/6 cancels, it just becomes 1. So our new equation is 290, 1.04 T. And with that, that means that every 18 months we're going up by the 4. We're going up by 4%. It is C. So converting, I think, is the hardest part. And then remembering that the 0.04 is just 4% increase. And then you're fine. Okay, so getting more conceptually difficult. I think the 18 months throws people off, but it's totally doable. All right, after this, we'll be halfway through. We're doing a great job. In the given equation, k and n are constants, and n is greater than 1. The equation has no solution. What is the value of k? So when it has no solutions, that means they're parallel with different y-intercepts. So the n doesn't actually matter. What matters is the thing x is being multiplied by. So that'll be 2kx equals negative 28 over 15x. Divide by 2x and divide by 2x. And you get k equals negative 14 over 15, and that is our answer. This one, the math itself isn't hard. It's just understanding what the question is asking for. Once you get that, I think this becomes an easy medium question. A gift shop buys souvenirs at a wholesale price of $7 each and resells them each at a retail price that is 290% of the wholesale price. At the end of the season, any remaining souvenirs are marked at a discounted price that is 80% off the retail price. What is the discounted price of each remaining souvenir in dollars? So we have $7, 290% of, which is multiplication, and 80% off. So we'll do 290%, that's as a decimal is 2.9, times 7, and then 80% off, 1 minus 0.8. And that's going to become 2.9 times 0.2 times 7, and that is going to be 4.06. Okay, and a classic percentage question with two sort of changes going on, and you just want to keep track of what's off, what's of, or what's an increase. In this case, there's only of and off. All right, more than halfway through now. In the given equation, c is a constant. The equation has no real solutions. If c is greater than n, what is the least possible value of n? Okay, so this is all about the discriminant, which I believe will come up one other time on this section. Discriminant is the inside part of the square root in the quadratic. So that is b squared minus 4ac. When it is positive, we have two solutions. When it is 0, we have one solution. When it is negative, we have 0 solutions. So here the b is negative 34 squared. The a is just 1, so we can get rid of that. So it's going to be minus 4c. Has no real solution, so it has to be less than 0. So now 34 squared is going to be, the negatives will cancel, 1156 minus 4c is less than 0. We subtract 1156, and we get negative 4c is less than negative 1156. Divide by negative 4, and we're going to get c is greater than 289. And C is greater than N, so N equals 289, and that is our answer. Okay, so challenging question for sure, but you need to understand discriminant not just for this, but it comes up in different ways throughout the test. I can almost guarantee it. If you get the second math module to be hard, you'll get something involving discriminant at least once. And now we have this. Dataset A consists of the heights of 75 buildings and has a mean of 32 meters. Dataset B consists of the heights of 50 buildings and has a mean of 62 meters. Dataset C consists of the heights of the 125 buildings from datasets A and B. What is the mean in meters of dataset C? So we do 75 times the 32 and 50 times the 62, add them together and divide by 125, and that sort of weighs out the averages. So it'll be 32 plus 50 times 62 all over 125. You can do this in Desmos and you will get 75 times 32 plus 50 times 62. I'm going to do a double parentheses to make it all one thing and then divide by 125, and I get 44. So it's going to be 44. Okay, closer to the 32 than the 62 because there's more values that had that mean average of 32. And now we're on to 15. We're really doing a great job. This one is tricky. The expression 4x squared plus bx minus 45, where b is a constant, can be rewritten as hx plus k times x plus j, where h, k, and j are integer constants. Which of the following must be an integer? So I'm going to FOIL this and see how that connects to this, and then we'll go from there. On these, you sort of have to feel your way out. So feel your way through them. Plus k, x plus j. So hx times x will be hx squared. Ahx times j will be hxj. K times x will be kx. K times j will be kj. And that equals 4x squared plus bx minus 45. So we could say h is 4. These two combined make the bx, and kj equals negative 45. So let's work with that, actually. Equals negative 45. That tells us that j is negative 45 over k, and that k is negative 45 over j. If we look at our answers, this is the same as this except not with the negative, but we know j is an integer, and the negative of an integer would still be an integer, so it should be d. Okay, b and h don't work. We don't know, because we know what b is, but we don't know what h is. B and h don't work. B and k don't work because we don't know what b is, so that might throw things off. But d works because we know that no matter what it is, we were told h, k, and j are integers. So if this is equal to j, then it's an integer. Tricky question, very conceptual, and with a good amount of math to do itself. So I would definitely say this is a hard question. And if you can get this, you're doing great. All right, so we have a systems of equations. In the given systems of equations, a is a positive constant. The system is exactly one distinct row solution. What is the value of a? So we can set them equal to each other because they're both equal to y. And we say negative 1.5 equals x squared plus 8x plus a. Move the 1.5 over, we get 0 equals x squared plus 8x plus a plus 1.5. And now what is the value of a? There's one distinct solution, so that means the discriminant equals 0. So we say b squared minus 4ac equals 0. So let's plug in 8 for b, 1 for a, and then a plus 1.5 for c. I think that part really throws people off. Equals 0. So we'll get 64 minus, I'm not going to distribute the 4, I'm just going to leave it for now. A plus 1.5 equals 0. And then I'm going to move the 64 over, and I get negative 4 parentheses a plus 1.5 equals negative 64. Divide by negative 4. A plus 1.5 equals 16. Subtract 16. A equals 14.5. Okay, definitely a tricky one. Not as bad as the HKJ question, but still hard. You need to understand discriminants, and you need to be careful about the A plus 1.5. And that'll be great. Some people use the slider on Desmos, but I wouldn't waste my time there. That's like guessing and checking. It could work quickly one time, but it could take a long time other times. All right, so now we have this here. The dot plot represents the 15 values in dataset A. Dataset B is created by adding 56 to each of the values in dataset A. Which of the following correctly compares the medians in the ranges of datasets A and B? So we're just adding 56 to each of them. So this becomes 78, 79, 80, 81, 82. So the range hasn't changed. The range is still 4, but the median obviously has changed. We don't need to find it. We just know that it's gone up. So the median of dataset B is equal to the median of dataset A? No. Median of dataset B is equal to the median of dataset A? No. The median of dataset B is greater than the median of dataset A? That's correct. And the range is equal, so it should be that one. What's wrong with D then? And median is greater, that's correct. And the range is greater, that's wrong. Okay, so notice again there's the doubling of the choices here, where there's 2 sets of 2 and 2 sets of 2. And when you see that, you can really focus in on the differences, and that helps avoid mistakes on your end. Okay, we have this one here. The rational function f is defined by an equation in the form f of x equals a over x plus b, where a and b are constants. The partial graph of y equals f of x is shown. If g of x equals f of x plus 4, which equation could define function g? So what's happening here, right? Let's look at this. We have an asymptote sort of around negative 4, so our original one should be over x plus 4. And we're adding 4 to x, so that should become x plus 8. We're basically shifting, right, 4 to the left, so our new one would go over here. Which one is x plus 8? It's not A, not B, it is C, and it's not D. Okay, so conceptual, kind of abstract, but you have to think about asymptotes, and notice how the top is always the same, 6, 6, 6. And this one's 6, x plus 4, but the x plus 4 is canceled. That one just doesn't make sense. That would just be a horizontal line at 6. So C is our option here. Don't get overwhelmed when you see something like this. Be like, what can I do? What do I know? And then go from there. All right, we have this one here, 57x squared plus 57b plus a, close parentheses x plus ab equals 0. In the given equation, a and b are positive constants. The product of the solutions to the given equation is kab, where k is a constant. What is the value of k? What I'm noticing is that I could see this sort of being like the sum and multiplication of 57 and these. So I think I could factor it. I'm going to keep it over there. But let me try 57. X in one of them. I notice that b is being multiplied by it, so I'll leave that one over here. So I'll do x plus b. And then I'm going to do plus a here. What happens when I do this? It's kind of guessing and checking, kind of going off feeling, a little bit of instinct. 57x times x is 57x squared. 57x times b is going to become 57bx. A times x is ax. And a times b is ab. So we have the 57x squared and the ab. And this is just the same thing, except the x is factored out. So we got 57b plus a, parentheses x. So the solutions, right, are going to be, when we set these equal to 0, plus a equals 0, x plus b equals 0. So x equals negative b. And over here we're going to get 57 x equals negative a, x equals negative a over 57. If we multiply them together, right, because we're finding the solutions, the product, we're going to get ab over 57 equals KAB divide by AB. K equals 1 over 57A. Okay, so take a second with this. Look at what I did. The hardest part is doing this step here, but you're just trying to notice a pattern, being like, what can I do? How could I find it? And then go from there. Okay, this is a classic circle question on a coordinate plane. The graph of x squared plus x plus y squared plus y equals 199 over 2 in the xy plane is a circle. What is the length of the circle's radius? Okay, so if we're looking for the circle's radius, we would do the square root of this, right? But it's not in the right form. So what some people will do is they'll use Desmos, but that's only going to approximate it. I'll show you why. So if we use Desmos and just graph it, okay, we're here. It's about 9.5, 10.48. So this is close to 20, so it's around 10, but it's not an exact value. So we can't trust it, especially because the center is not at 0, 0, right? If it were 0, 0, that'd be it. The center is somewhere else. So you want to complete the square instead to be accurate. So we take half of the x, half of the y, square that value, and add it to both sides. And we only care about adding it to this side because we're only looking for the radius anyway. So half of 1 is 1/2 squared. That's from the x. That's from the x. And then we'll do the same thing for the y because it's also just 1 squared. And that's going to be 1/4 plus 1/4. And we're going to get 1/2. And we add that to 199 over 2. That gets us 200 over 2 equals 100. And the square root of that to find the radius is 10. Okay? So the important thing is to know when you have it in the right form, the right side is the square of the radius. And don't worry about finding the center. Don't do that. Just find the radius. Save yourself some time. All right, we have 2 questions left. They're tricky ones, so lock in. So 2 identical rectangular prisms each have a height of 90 centimeters. The base of each prism is a square, and the surface area of each prism is k centimeters squared. If the prisms are glued together along a square base, the resulting prism has a surface area of 92 over 47k centimeters squared. What is the side length in centimeters of each square base? So imagine you have a prism. Okay, with a height of 90. Side lengths on the base of x. And then we're going to add another prism that's identical. Excuse my drawing here, but I'm a tutor, not an artist. And that's again 90. So the surface area of a prism is 2 times length times width plus width times height plus height times length. So in this case, we would have surface area equals 2, the length and the width are the same, so it's x squared, plus 90x plus 90x, and that's going to be 2 parentheses x squared plus 180x. That's for one prism, and that's going to be k. So for 2 prisms, the middle part that's pasted together disappears, so we still only have 2 bases. So we'll still only have x squared, so we're going to have 92 over 47k equals 2. The bases are the same, x squared. But now instead of 180, the height has doubled. So instead of 180, it's going to be 360x. Now what you can do is multiply this equation here by 47 over 92 to just get it equal to k, and then set them equal to each other. So we're going to have k equals 47 over 92 times 2 times x squared plus 360x. And we'll use Desmos to find it, and it'll be nice and clean. Desmos will help us. We don't have to do the actual algebra here. 47 over 92 times 2 times x squared plus 360x equals 2x squared plus 180x. We get 0, 0, which is not going to work. Obviously, that has no dimensions, and we get 8. So we do have 8 as an answer choice. It is B. Okay, beautiful question, hard question. Almost always my students come asking me how to do it or how to do this efficiently. This is the best way to do it. All right, we're on our last one. Can you believe it? We have done it. One of the harder math modules out there. Pat yourself on the back. Let's try this one out. In the xy plane, a parabola has vertex 9, comma, negative 14, and intersects the x-axis at 2 points. If the equation of the parabola is written in the form of y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are constants, which of the following could be the value of a plus b plus c? Okay, so the fact that the vertex is below the x-axis and it intersects twice, that means a is positive. So this is positive. Now let's set it up with vertex form. Vertex form of an equation that's a parabola is y equals a, which is sort of like the slope change, x minus h squared plus k, where h comma k is the vertex. So here we're going to have y equals a, which we know is positive, x minus 9 squared minus 14. Let's FOIL and distribute the a. Y equals ax squared, because x times x is x squared. Negative 9 times x is negative 9x. Again, because we double it, so it'll be negative 18x. So I have negative 18ax. Negative 9 squared is going to become 81 times a will be plus 81a. Minus 14. Okay, so now our a value here is a. Our b value is negative 18a. And our c value is 81a minus 14. Let's add them all together to get a plus b plus c. So we're going to get a minus 18a plus 81a minus 14. That's going to give us 64a minus 14. Now we don't know anything about this except that a is positive. So we're going to be making this value more positive, less negative. So it has to be bigger than negative 14. Of our answer choices, the only one bigger than negative 14 is D. And that'll be the answer. We can't actually find the actual value of a plus b plus c, but we know it's not a, b, or c. So process of elimination here is what we need, and we get D. This is Bluebook Test 4, Math Module 2. Easy. It's what you get if you didn't do too hot on the first section. So hopefully you got the hard one, but if not, these are the questions. And even if you got the hard one, these are still good to review just to see for tricks, how to be fast. And there's still some hard questions here. So we start with this. If 7x equals 28, what is the value of 8x? Classic, you just solve for x by dividing by 7, dividing by 7. You get x equals 4, and then 8x will be 4 times 8. That is 32. You should be able to do that all mentally in your head. I'm just writing it out to show you what's going on in mine. All right, now we have number 2. Isabel grows potatoes in her garden. This year, she harvested 760 potatoes and saved 10% of them to plant next year. How many of the harvested potatoes did Isabel save to plant? So we're going to do 10% of the total. So that'll be 0.1 times 760. You just move the decimal place 1 to the left, and you get 76. Okay. Easy start. It'll get harder even in this section. All right, I love this one here. A printer produces posters at a constant rate of 42 posters per minute. At what rate in posters per hour does the printer produce posters? So we're converting minutes to hours. So you do 42 times 60 minutes in 1 hour, right? Because it's 42 per 1 minute. So the minutes units cancels and we get 42 times 60, which is going to be 2520. All right. These so far not too bad. Great questions to be able to do automatically. You shouldn't have any doubts on them. And now we have this one here. The bar graph shows the distribution of 419 cans collected by 10 different groups for a food drive. How many cans were collected by group 6? So group 6 is right here, and we just read number of cans collected, 40, and that is it. About as easy a question as you ever see on the SAT. Just don't rush, don't get confused, don't psych yourself out. The x-intercept of the graph is shown, x comma 0. What is the value of x? So this is the x-intercept, that's where it crosses, and it is right here, and it is right here, and that is 7, okay? Nice and quick here, right? Nothing too crazy so far. Then we have this, the function f is defined by the equation f of x equals 7x plus 2. What is the value of f of x when x equals 4? So the function is defined by the equation. When x equals 4, we plug in 4 for it, and we'll get 7 times 4 plus 2, and that's going to become 28 plus 2. We get 30, okay? Again, not bad at all. You should be getting these all down. Basic algebra. If you have questions, let me know and I can help you find other resources as well. We have this one here. Each side of a square has a length of 45. What is the perimeter of this square? Perimeter of a square is 4 times the side length, so it's 4 times 45, and it is 180. You might notice that we have less multiple choice here. That might be a consequence that it feels easier sometimes to not have multiple choice if the questions are easy, but it might just be random. So don't look too deep into that. And we have this one, the point with coordinates d, comma 4 lies on the line shown. What is the value of d? This one's the hardest one by far that we've seen. It was actually on Math Module 2 hard as well. I'll do it again here. And it is going to be, we take the x-intercept, which is going to be 8, comma 0. And we take the y-intercept, which is going to be 0, comma 7. We find the slope. So it's going to be 7 minus 0 over 0 minus 8, and we'll get negative 7/8. And use the point slope form for it. So we're going to do y1 minus 0, let's say. So y minus 0 equals negative 7/8 x minus 8. And we're going to get y equals negative 7/8 x. This will multiply and we're going to get plus 7. Okay, so when it's 4, we're going to plug in 4 here. Equals negative 7/8 d plus 7. We subtract 7, we'll get negative 3 equals negative 7/8 d, and we're going to get negative times, we're going to move it over and we're going to get positive 24 over 7 equals d, and that is C. And now let me show you how to do it with Desmos. All right, with Desmos we can make a chart, a little table, and we're going to put the values we had in. It's going to become 0, comma 7 and 8, comma 0. Then we can make the linear regression values. We get our equation, which is the same as we did manually, and now we can just do it out from there. And once we have that equation, we can just do 4 minus 7 gets us negative 3, and we'll do negative 3 divided by negative 0.875, and we get this value, and we can find the fraction with that button. So again, it gets us C. All right, now we have this one here. Which expression is equivalent to 5x squared minus 50xy squared? And these are all factored forms, so I'll rewrite it. 5x squared minus 50x y squared. Now let's factor out the 5x, and we're left with x minus 10 y squared, and that is A. Okay, so not too bad of a question here. You just want to remember, factor out the greatest common factor. And here the function f is defined by f of x equals 5x squared. What is the value of f of 8? Again, plug and chug, so it's going to become 5 parentheses 8 squared. And you can do this in a calculator. 8 squared is 64. 5 times 64 is going to become 320. And that is D. Okay? Again, you can see that it's testing fundamental math skills here. And if you have these down, you can scale up over time to do the harder questions. But these are the most important. So we have this one here in the figure. Line M is parallel to line N. What is the value of X? So remember that in parallel lines with a transversal, alternate interior are equal. And that means same side interior are supplementary. So you'd say X plus 26 equals 180. And then subtract 26 and you're going to get X equals 180 minus 26 is 154. You don't even need to do that math because you could see the only one that could be possible is 154. So that means D is our answer. So not too bad, but you want to know the rules on transversals and parallel lines. Okay, we have each face of a fair 14-sided die is labeled with a number from 1 through 14 with a different number appearing on each face. If the die is rolled one time, what is the probability of rolling a 2? So what a lot of people will do is they'll say 2 out of 14, but that's not it. What it is going to be 1 out of 14. And that is going to be A, 1/14. Okay? So you have questions on that? Of course, let me know. But this is just probability is going to be the part that you're looking for, the 2, over the whole, the 14. All right, we're already more than halfway through. Let's see what's going on here. The scatter plot shows the relationship between two variables, x and y. A line of best fit is also shown. Which of the following equations best represents the line of best fit? So first of all, it's positive slope, so we don't want anything with a negative slope. So B and D are gone, and it has a positive y-intercept, so it has to be A, okay? Just process elimination, look at the obvious points, and then go from there. All right, now we have this one here, another one that was on Math Module 2 hard, so you see there is some overlap. The dot plot represents the 15 values in dataset A. Dataset B is created by adding 56 to each of the values in dataset A. Which of the following correctly compares the medians and the ranges of datasets A and B? Okay, so we're adding 56 to everything, so everything's going up by 56. This becomes 78, 79, 80, 81, and 82. Now, obviously, the median has gone up, but the range is still just 4. So we're looking for something that tells us the median has gone up and the range is still equal. So A is saying median is equal, no. B is saying median is equal, no. C is saying it is greater than the dataset median in A, and that the range is equal, so it should be C. And then D is saying it's greater than and greater than, so it's not D, it is C. You can see how they're splitting these options into 2 sets of 2. The way they did that also on the other one where there were like 2 negative slopes, 2 positive slopes, 2 negative y-intercepts, 2 positive y-intercepts. They often have a systematized way of giving us answer choices. So that helps us to sort of focus on the differences and make the right choice. Okay, now we have this. Last week, an interior designer earned a total of $1,258 from consulting for X hours and drawing up plans for Y hours. The equation 68X plus 85Y equals 1258 represents this situation. Which of the following is the best interpretation of 68 in this context? So this is all about reading and understanding. So X hours, from consulting for X hours and drawing up plans for Y hours. So X hours is about the consulting. That's what 68 is attached to. So it's saying that you're earning $68 per hour, I believe. And that would be A, earn $68 per hour consulting. That would be correct. Let's look at the others to make sure. 68 hours drawing up? No, because X is the number of hours. And also drawing up is for Y. 68 hours per drawing up? No, that's the Y value, would be 85. The interior designer works 68 hours consulting? Nope. So it is A. So this is about reading and attaching the right variables to the right meanings. Okay, this is a great one to do just in Desmos, so that's what I'm going to do. So all I do is I say x equals 8, and then I say y equals x squared plus 8. And then I zoom out, and I find the point, and it is 72. And that is all. You could do this other ways. You could plug in 8 as well. and just do 8 squared is 64 plus 8 and get 72 again. Either way works perfectly fine. If I were doing it on the test, and I would see that probably and just go in that direction. But a lot of people love to use Desmos, so I wanted to show you that too. And we have this, okay, so this is a nonlinear function equation. The graph of y equals f of x is shown in the xy plane. What is the value of f of 0? So what is it when x equals 0? It is 3, and that is all for this one. Again, reading graphs carefully can take you a long way on the SAT. The function f is defined by f of x equals 8 root x. For what value of x does f of x equal 48? Okay, so for what value of x does f of x equal 48? Let's just set it equal. 48 equals 8 root x, divide by 8, root x equals 6, square both sides and you get 36, right? It'll be square and square, equals x, and that is C. Okay, many people want to know, as I'm doing this, I'm thinking about what people want to know about this test. And they're like, what type of score do I get if I get the easy? If you get the easy, that means you did not do great on the first section, so your score is limited. Even if you get a perfect on the easy, you probably couldn't get more than like a 600-ish on the math section. So you definitely, if you want to be getting the really high scores, want to be getting in the hard section. But, you know, a 600 is totally solid in math. Line T in the xy plane has a slope of negative 1/3 and passes through the point 910. Which equation defines line T? So slope of negative 1/3, so we can eliminate A and B, and it passes through the point 910. So I would just graph these on Desmos. All right, so I'll start with negative x divided by 3 plus 10. So when x is 9, it's not going to be 10, it's going to be less than 10. So what about if we did plus 13? When x is 9, yep, that's it. So it's going to be D. You could also solve it algebraically. Both will work here. All right, down to the last 3 now. Let's see how this one goes. A company that provides whale watching tours takes groups of 21 people at a time. The company's revenue is $80 per adult and $60 per child. If the company's revenue for one group consisting of adults and children was $14.40, how many people in the group were children? Okay, so I can make an equation and then go from there. 21 people at a time. The company's revenue is $80 per adult and $60 per child for one group consisting of adults. So we have 21 people, so we could do x plus y equals 21. And we can also do 80x plus 60y equals 1440. And we don't need to solve these, we can just do them on Desmos. So it'll be x plus y equals 21, and 80x plus 60y equals 1440. And I'll move it around, and I get 9 and 12. How many people in the group were children? The y were the children, so it should be C, 12. Okay, so again, not terrible. Desmos is a big help here. And we have this one. How many distinct real solutions does the equation have? You can use discriminant negative b squared plus 4ac and see what happens with this. But what I'm going to do is just Desmos again and see how many times it crosses, because there's nothing funky here. So I'll just do plus 10x plus 16. I see that it crosses nowhere, so the answer is going to be D. Okay? Lovely question. Desmos, again, is a huge help here. Get comfortable with Desmos. All right, our last one. And if you've gotten all of these questions, make sure to check out the Math Module 1 I already did and Math Module 2 Hard that I already did for Bluebook 4. Like and subscribe, because I'm going to be doing it for all the Bluebooks, all levels. And I'm going to be doing it for the reading and writing. The equation x squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 36 represents circle A. Circle B is obtained by shifting circle A down 4 units in the xy plane. Which of the following equations represents circle B? So we're shifting down 4 units. That means we're going down 4. So x is not going to change. It'll still be x squared. But now instead of y minus 2, when you shift, remember it's y minus the x center. So right now it's a 2. And we're shifting by going down 4, and we're going to get negative 2. So I'll do it here. 2 minus 4 equals negative 2. So it's going to be x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. That's the standard form of a circle. So now it's still going to be x squared, but now instead of minus 2, it's going to become y minus negative 2. So it'll be y plus 2 squared equals, the radius hasn't changed, it's still 36. A radius of 6, that would be, so it's going to be a. Okay, so this one can be tricky for sure. Maybe one of the hardest ones in this section, but I hope this section feels comfortable to you all. All right, that's all 66 questions. There were a couple repeats in there, I guess. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any further questions on this or anything related to the SAT or anything really, let me know in the comments.